So I want to talk a little bit about consistency and how that can help or hinder our dog's training progress. Dogs learn through a process of trial and error. So what this means is that they'll try one thing, they'll see what happens. Does it have a pleasant outcome or a less pleasant outcome? And they'll use that information to decide whether they're going to repeat the behavior again. So when we're trying to train our dog, what our job is to somehow try and get them to do the thing that we want them to do. And then we offer them a reward for doing that. So if you were trying to teach your dog how to sit, you'd hold the treat in front of their nose and you'd maybe move it up and back a little bit so the dog kind of angles himself and eventually his bottom will touch the floor. And as soon as he does that, you'll give him his treat. If you were doing a recall, you would hold a treat in your hand and you would call your dog and eventually they would come to you and then they would get the reward. In between getting the treat though, the dog in the sit instance might have tried lying down, they might have tried batting you with their paw, they might have tried looking all around the place or getting up or wandering off. They might have even tried to take the treat out of your hand by nibbling and licking at it. But the treat doesn't come until they do the thing that you want them to do. Now this sounds really simple, except that very often we give our dogs a kind of a grey area. So when the dog's bum is nearly on the floor, we go, oh, that's close enough. I'll give him the treat. He tried hard. Or if your dog runs nearly to you and you end up walking towards him to give him his reward. But this doesn't really help our dogs because it's not helping them understand exactly what the bit was they were supposed to do. So now your dog is starting to realize that actually the sit behavior you keep asking for is bum hovering above the floor, not actually sitting with my bum on the floor. Helping them out by giving them the treat for a bit of effort doesn't really help them eventually do the trick that we want them to do. So actually they would much rather we did not reward that little bit of effort and waited until they did the exact right thing. And then once they've repeated that a few times, it will be really clear in their mind exactly what it is they were supposed to do. The same with the recall. If we let them stop 6 feet away and we walk to them going, gosh, that's a good effort, then they'll always stop 6 feet away, because if we keep on doing that and we keep rewarding that, then that's the thing that they think we were trying to teach them. So when this happens, our dog is not being disobedient. They're not being, trying to compromise with us or trying to be dominant or anything like that. They're just doing what they think that we're trying to teach them. So when you start teaching your dog a new trick, think in your mind very clearly about exactly what you want them to do and make sure that every time you reward them, they're doing that exact thing, exactly how you imagined it. It doesn't really matter what you're trying to teach them, as long as you're clear in your mind what exactly it is they need to do. And this just doesn't apply to you as well. It applies to the whole family. So if you've got older children that are helping with the training, or partners or other family members that are involved in your dog's training, you all need to be really clear what exactly it is that you expect from your dog in certain situations, so that you're making sure you're always rewarding the same thing. People think of consistency and think we all used to use the same command, we all need to do the same sort of thing. It's the actual specific timing of the treat that's the most important thing. So it doesn't matter if one person calls it a come and the other person calls it a here. Your dog will recognize those differences, but they all need to make sure the dog comes right in and sits in front or stands in front or goes around the back. Whatever it is exactly that you're trying to get them to do, make sure everybody's doing it exactly the same. Your dog will quickly pick up exactly what they're supposed to be doing and will learn so much faster and will be able to please you better because they'll be able to do what you want. So this doesn't apply just to things like recall. This can apply to walking in through a door. If some people are greeting your dog when they're on 2 legs, looking for a hug, they're jumping up, maybe they're excited, perhaps they're nibbling at your jacket, and then that person tells the dog to sit, and then they jump up and then they tell them to sit, and then they jump up and tell them to sit. That person has established what they expect from a dog when they come through the door. This is what we're getting, lots of interaction. If everybody comes through the door and then ignores the dog starts to understand that actually people coming in at the door is pretty boring, and actually there's no reward to this at all. So we go back to the bit where we know whether a dog will repeat a behavior or not based on the fact that there's a reward or not a reward. So we're not punishing the dog for jumping up. We're just making this a very non-rewarding experience, very boring. The reward can come later when the dog is really calm and is doing exactly what you want. So you decide, how do you want your dog to greet people when they come through the front door? Do you want them to sit? Do you want them to bring a toy? Do you want them to lie down? Do you just want them to stand in front of them on all four legs, just being generally kind of calm? Whatever that looks like to you, make sure you make specific notes and you know exactly how it looks and you explain that to everybody. So if everybody does exactly the same thing, the reward will come at the same time for the dog and he'll be able to go, quickly, I know what to do. I'm supposed to be doing this. But if everybody's doing something different all of the time, then the dog doesn't have much of a hope of learning what to do, and they'll do the thing that they like the most. So very often in these situations, the dog enjoys jumping up at people. They enjoy trying to get a bit of sport from them, perhaps a little bit of a wrestle game, or maybe they just like being pushed away, or they like, being chased around, or they like all of that interaction. So throughout your dog's day, imagine what exactly it is that you're trying to achieve from them all the time, and make sure that's more rewarding than the behavior that they've chosen. But the consistency is the key. Once everybody's doing the same and you're doing the same every single time, you have the exact same expectations and you're rewarding the exact same behavior, your dog will learn much, much faster. Enjoy. Bye-bye.